Shaman Guru. I'm Jax, and today we're going to take a look at the next question in our New Year, New Way series. Do you have spiritual forces powerful enough to keep you from fear? I would say that this is one of the questions that really, how would I explain this? Did I say enough reallys? Formed my life. As a child, I used to have serious nightmares and night terrors, and it was always about this guy that was trying to chase me and grab me, and I never knew what it was for. I still haven't quite pieced together what that was, but there was an incredible fear. I had a fear of people. I had a fear that I wasn't taken care of. I just had fear. And you would think that with all that fear, I was raised in a house without any kind of religion or faith, and that was not the case, actually. It was the exact opposite. That's why it was such an interesting thing for me. So when it said, do you have spiritual forces powerful enough to keep you from fear, I was thinking about it when I was a child, and I used to go to my grandparents' house. And my grandparents had this religious picture, icon, or I can't remember exactly which picture it was, but it was a religious picture. And if anybody whistled in front of the picture, it wouldn't matter. It was almost like my grandmother was a superhero. It wouldn't matter where you were in the house, or if you thought you were by yourself, she'd show up somewhere and, shh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't whistle in front of the holy picture. And we're like, why? And it was just like, it was so much fear. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter what they did. And it was funny because that carried off into my childhood as well, because our life, we were, I don't want to use inundated, but we were very blessed with a rich church life. Our family was one of the ones that had very special privileges, and let me explain. So, we were of the Ukrainian Catholic faith, and my mother loved her faith. And so we were very involved in the church. So at one time, we were, as children, allowed to go to the monastery. And I don't know if any of you know what a monastery is, but that's where the priests actually live, because priests don't necessarily live in a house. They live in a dwelling that is provided by the church, and they stay separated from the secular world, and even from the parishioners. And there's usually a certain area, a foyer, or foyer for you American friends. There's a foyer where you're allowed to go in, but that's it. Like, you're not to roam free. You're not to go into the holy quarters, I guess. I'm not quite sure if that's what they're called, but that's the best way to describe it. Well, my mom, for some reason, found there was a reputation that she was an amazing cook. Well, frankly, the priest knew firsthand, because we had one of the priests over every Sunday for dinner. When the opportunity came up for them to have a cook, my mom was the cook. And Saturday mornings we would go, and the priests had the money for all this bountiful fruit and food. And so as children, we were like, wow, this is awesome. We get to go. And the really neat part about it was that we were allowed in the holy quarters. In fact, there was a second floor where all the bedrooms were, and we were up there. And we were allowed to actually sit and watch Saturday morning cartoons and eat all their snacks. And we had races in there. We had elastic fights with the priests. And it was just an awesome time. So the priests never really were that separated from us like they were for the rest of the congregation. And the same thing were with the nuns of the church, too. I went to a school, I guess my brother and I went to a school where the nuns were our teachers. So not only did we have them as our teacher, but that was more of a position of authority, so they were still separate from us. We were allowed to go to the convent, and so I went through the basement, and we were in the kitchen, and we went there for dinner often. And I was one of those kids that were allowed to roam around the halls of the convent, and I don't know if any of you know what a convent is, that's where the nuns live. And they stay, again, is a separate dwelling for them, so they stay separate from the rest of the world. And we used to go on Boxing Day, and for all of you that don't know what Boxing Day is, in Canada, that's the day after Christmas. And we would go to Boxing Day and watch The Sound of Music, the movie with the nuns, which is kind of funny because they're nuns. But we all would have a good laugh, and it was like a Christmas tradition that we would do that. So if it wasn't for the fact that we were in we use the word cahoots, because that's just fun. If it wasn't for the fact that we were in cahoots with the nuns and the priests, we had a very relaxed, I don't want to use the word intimate, but we were closer with them than most parishioners were. But that didn't change my fear level. Even though I had such a close relationship with the priests and the nuns, and we went to church continuously in the Ukrainian Catholic faith. If you're a devoted church member and follow a lot of the dogmas and doctrines that go with that, then you would know how extensive they could be, and it didn't help. I was still completely afraid. Like, my faith level, my knowledge of the religion was huge, but my faith level in the deity was zip. So then I thought, well, that's not working for me. This is not working. So I decided to stop being a Catholic, and I decided to go and become a Protestant, much to my mother's dismay, and that didn't go over well at all. But I was on a seeking mission. I needed to find faith. I needed a way to find a spiritual force powerful enough to keep me from fear. So I went to this faith and dove right in, like head first, deep end, did everything I possibly could, went to the far right-wing version of this faith, did whatever I could. I changed my diet, I changed my occupation, I changed my mindset, I changed everything but my fear. That didn't change. And here I was I tried the Catholic faith, I tried the Protestant faith, and you know what? Zippo didn't help me with my fear level at all. So then I started to question the whole entire system and organized religion. Now, let me make this clear. Just because I have not been able to find my faith answer in either one of those avenues does not mean that I condemn anyone who has, because there's lots of people who have. And I support you 100%. If that's the avenue in which you want to find your faith and you find your connection with your higher power, I applaud you, and I am proud of you, because it's not very common. Most people I came in contact with had lots of faith in regards to knowledge of the doctrine, but faith in regards to their faith with Christ, not so much. So I sent on a journey, and I decided to leave organized religion that was Christ-based, and decide to go and look that was more internal wisdom-based. And I searched and I searched and I did different ones, and I looked into Buddhism and I looked into all those other ones. But I did not find the answer for the spiritual force powerful enough to keep you from fear. It just didn't work. I don't know what happened. It just didn't happen for me until I started to look at what beliefs made me fearful. So when I stripped away all the doctrine, and I stripped away all of the organized religion, and I stripped away everything that had to do with an outside power, and actually sat there and looked at what I was afraid of, and then looked at the higher power, and I call it the universe. You can call it whatever you want to do. If you still want to call it God or whatever the word works for you, as long as you have one, I am totally happy for you, because that's the most important thing, is that you have a higher power that you try to have an intimate relationship with, because that's the key. And I realized that doctrine and that dogma was getting in the way, because it was almost like I listened to a tape one time, and this was the best way to describe it. That there is where you're actually doing the work, or you're making yourself busy thinking that you're doing the work. And most people are so busy doing what they think gets them closer that they actually don't work on the relationship with their higher power. And when I stripped away all the religion, I realized that there was nothing left but me to work on what's bothering me about the religion. Or what's bothering me about the relationship, What's bothering me about the relationship. And I realized that my relationship sucked. I had no relationship with my higher power. And when I realized that that's where all the fear was from, I started to look at what caused the fear in the first place, and what beliefs caused the fear. And as I've been working on the beliefs and putting them into perspective, my relationship with my higher power has increased tenfold. My fear level has decreased immensely. So if you can take that with you in the doctrine that you're in, whatever it is, and realize that when you go to your service on whatever day it is, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, that's busy. That's not getting you closer. You may find more information at that service that's helping you become less fearful, but unless you actually apply what you learn, you're just being busy. You're not increasing your relationship. If you go to prayer meeting, you're just being busy, because it's how are you increasing your relationship and reducing your fear? And the only way to do that is to increase your faith, and that's by working on the relationship. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want new and exciting ways to connect with the Common Guru, you can check down in our description box. Don't forget to subscribe. Have an awesome day. Bye.